dare you? You walk into my house and shame my family in front of everyone, you insolent girl!
I didn't mean for any of this to happen.
Madame, please. Did she just slap him? Someone stop her. In the glittering ballroom, every camera snapped toward the same shocking scene, a billionaire socialite's hand still raised. A black CEO's cheek reddening under the chandeliers. The orchestra faltered. Guests gasped. She smiled as if she owned the air. No one understood yet how quickly power could flip. How one racist impulse could trigger a downfall big enough to shake a $5 billion empire. This is the night a slap became a switch, and the story begins at that spark. Stay close for the fallout. This billionaire's slap shattered her fortune. Welcome, story lovers. From where are you watching? Hit the like button and drop your city name in the comments so we can see how far our story travels. Malika Diami had spent most of his life learning how to enter rooms that were never designed to welcome him. At 38, he was the chief executive of Solar Renova. This renewable energy company turned extreme heat into low-cost electricity. The business began in a rented Oakland warehouse with scavenged equipment and volunteers who believed climate innovation could also be social repair. 5 years later, Solar Renova supplied grids on 3 continents and was valued in the billions. Magazines framed Malik as a self-made miracle. But what they called a miracle was really discipline. Long nights building prototypes. Longer days convincing investors that a black founder could be the face of a global industry. His childhood had been ordinary in the way working families. No, 2 jobs in the house. Hand-me-down laptops, and a mother who insisted that excellence was not a costume, but a habit. Malik carried that into adulthood. He learned to stay calm while being mistaken for security at conferences, to smile when someone asked where he really came from, and to keep his posture steady when a board member spoke over him. Every indignity became another silent weight on his climb. And every breakthrough became proof that he did not owe anyone a smaller dream. The verdant future. Gala in Manhattan was supposed to be a milestone, not a battle. It gathered philanthropists, oil dynasty heirs, startup titans, and politicians under one chandeliered roof to celebrate progress. Malik was there for a specific reason: the Global Impact Alliance. This partnership would place Solar Renova's tech into underserved regions and unlock a $5 billion joint venture with Avenal Capital. Avenal's founder, Madame Celeste Avenal, was a legend in those circles, hard to please, impeccably mannered, and famous for deciding fortunes with a single raised eyebrow. Malik arrived early. Tux pressed mind on the factories he wanted to build in Nigeria and the Gulf Coast. Still, as he stepped onto the red carpet, he felt the old familiar hum of scrutiny. He told himself it was just a crowded gala. He couldn't see that the night was already tilting toward a test of dignity. In that hall, one careless moment would expose everything. The gala ran on rails of rehearsed luxury. Servers skimmed between crystal tables. Donors laughed in low, controlled bursts. Malik shook hands, accepted praise, and answered the same loaded questions in fresh wrappers. How he had found the market, who had really built the tech, whether he had the right polish for global scale. He replied smoothly, letting numbers sit where bias wanted to settle. Madame Celeste Avenal watched him from across the room. People orbited her, waiting for signals. When they were introduced near the stage, she offered her hand without warmth. Her grip lingered a beat too long, a reminder of who she believed owned this world. Malik met her gaze and returned a calm nod. A few guests leaned in. Dinner began. The MC praised Solar Nova's rise and invited Malik to offer a short acknowledgement before the Global Impact Alliance announcement. Malik walked to the microphone and spoke about clean power reaching neighborhoods once ignored, about workers earning dignity alongside wages, about technology that served people instead of using them. He noticed the room split into 2 kinds of attention, one that listened with hope, and one that heard for a reason to doubt. He had just stepped away from the mic when a waiter hurried behind him with a tray of wine. A cable caught the man's heel. A glass tipped and red liquid splashed across Celeste's pale silk sleeve. The hall inhaled. The waiter stammered apologies, hands shaking as he reached for linens. Malik turned instinctively, lifting his own napkin to help blot the spill. Celeste jerked her arm away as if he were the stain. Her smile tightened. In a voice light enough to pass as wit, she suggested that Malik's concern looked like guilt. She implied he had bumped the waiter, that he was careless, that men eager to impress often caused accidents in rooms of heritage. A brittle laugh rose from those who wanted to stay aligned with her. Others glanced at Malik's badge as if to confirm her. Malik felt the old heat of being blamed for something he hadn't done. He lowered the napkin and said evenly that the spill was accidental and the staff would handle it. Celeste's tone sharpened. She asked if he had truly been invited or if a sponsor chasing diversity points had slipped him onto the list. The words were polished, but their meaning was raw. Phones tilted toward him. Whispered speculations spread. His board chair took a half step forward, but Malik signaled restraint. He offered to cover the cleaning cost, then stepped back to give her space. Celeste followed, towering. She lectured about standards and tradition, warning against newcomers who thought innovation granted social permission. Each sentence dressed racism in etiquette and called it culture. Alliance committee members exchanged strained looks. Some guests looked away, pretending not to see. Others stared, trapped between disgust and self-preservation. Malik's cheek twitched, not from fear, but from the insult's familiarity all over again. Malik realized this had never been about wine. It was about his presence and refusal to kneel. Celeste demanded a public apology. Malik took a slow breath, shook his head once, and repeated quietly that he had done nothing wrong. The ballroom cooled. Celeste's eyes hardened, and her hand began to rise. The slap cracked through the ballroom like thunder trapped indoors. Malik's head turned with the force, and for a blink he heard nothing but ringing and the inhale of hundreds of witnesses. Celeste's palm left a mark on his cheek, and she stood as if she had corrected property. A camera flash froze the moment. A few people murmured that he must have provoked her. Others went silent, shame rising behind steady smiles. Malik steadied himself. He did not lunge, shout, or reach for her. He knew any visible anger would be read as a threat. Instead, he lifted his eyes, calm enough to unsettle her. Security took one uncertain step forward, then hesitated, waiting for her permission. The waiter who had spilled the wine trembled behind a column, face white with shock. What Celeste did not know was that Sola Renova required complete transparency for any public deal. Malik's team had been streaming his gala appearance to stakeholders worldwide. In real time, employees in Lagos, engineers in Oakland, and investors in London watched her contempt build and her hand rise. The clip went viral on social media before the orchestra could restart. Malik's phone buzzed. The Alliance Board had voted unanimously to suspend negotiations with Avenal Capital pending investigation. When the MC announced the pause, Celeste's smile collapsed. For the first time all night, her power looked small. Around her, allies stepped back, afraid of being filmed beside her. Dear audience, where are you watching from? Drop your city name in the comments. By morning, the video was everywhere, shared with captions that named what the room had tried to avoid. Avenal Capital's clients demanded answers. Several pension funds and endowments pulled their money, citing ethics breaches and reputational risk. Regulators opened inquiries into workplace discrimination. And former staff described patterns they had been too scared to document. Celeste's empire, built on the myth of untouchable respectability, started to crumble. Malik refused the role of vengeful caricature. At a press briefing, he spoke about the quiet forms of racism that survive behind polite language, and about how quickly they turn violent when challenged. He acknowledged the hurt of the slap, but focused on the larger wound, the habit of blaming Black excellence for white discomfort. His steadiness gave people permission to stop calling the incident a misunderstanding and start calling it what it was. Sola Renova's board rebuilt the alliance with new partners who signed enforceable equity standards. The factories Malik dreamed of were funded anyway, only now the coalition was broader and more honest. Celeste resigned as chair under pressure and faced civil suits from investors, who argued she had destroyed value through prejudice. Her apologies drifted toward self-pity. Weeks later, Malik visited a Solara Nova site where engineers of every background worked side by side. He told them progress was not just cleaner air, still cleaner hearts, and that courage sometimes begins with refusing to apologize for existing. If a slap can expose an empire, what could sustained witness and solidarity dismantle next?